Welcome to the Spiritual Hangout. Higher conscious conversations aim to guide you on your spiritual journey. I am Leslie Demai, and before we dive into our main topic today, I asked you guys on Instagram if there was any questions you wanted me to answer on the podcast, and I got quite a few responses, but one in particular stood out, and it was from Pawan in India. His handle on Instagram is Abad Dabik. I probably didn't say that right, but love you, Pawan. And he asked, if meditation is the art of doing nothing, are we still doing something or doing nothing at all? Isn't watching the thoughts, being aware of breath, also an act of doing something? That's a great question, and I can see where you would think that's contradictory. However, let's talk about this type of meditation. There are many types of meditation, and it sounds like you're talking about mindfulness. And in mindfulness meditation, although we are observing the thoughts, that could be considered an act, but it's a passive act. You are observing the thoughts as the observer. So doing so without trying to dissect the thought or building upon it, which then that would be a big source of action. That would be a lot of energy that you would be kind of putting into those thoughts. But when you watch them from afar with no judgment, notice them come in, you'll soon notice them leaving as well. So from the same place that thought came in from, where did it come from? Who knows, right? It just pops in there. That thought leaves too. And when you start to notice these patterns, you start to detach yourself from it. When we do that, we're starting to train ourselves that we are not our thoughts. And that whatever comes up, it's going to leave. So don't attach yourself to them either. And when you talk about focusing on the breath, we tend to typically slow our breath down in meditations, and mindfulness will slow our breath down. And that is an act because you are intentionally breathing and exhaling in a certain way, but we do so to relax and to calm ourselves, to calm the body, to calm the mind, and to allow ourselves to open up that way. And eventually when we do that, we come into a state of stillness. When we come into that state of stillness, we can absorb that silence. We can absorb the stillness. We can then tune into our center. And that's where the magic happens. But while we're on our meditation journey, we focus on our breath and we focus on our thoughts to get us into that state. So great question, Pawan. I hope that kind of cleared it up. We'll be back after this quick break. Hello, beautiful spiritual infinite being. If you're not part of the Spiritual Hangout community on Instagram and Facebook, please join us. You can find me at Leslie Demai, LeslydAmai. Shoot me a comment or DM. I answer all. And if you're interested in being a guest, you can hit me up there or send me an email at lesliedemai@gmail.com. Without further ado, let's get started on today's episode. Now, many of us who embark on a spiritual journey do so after hitting rock bottom. Whether it's a breakup, overcoming an addiction, or health problems, it takes shadow work to discover your true infinite light. Today's guest, William Spanier, was led to his journey after a car accident where he sustained a severe concussion. After his concussion, he started having out-of-body experiences. Now, this is where it gets interesting. William then discovered he could willfully have these out-of-body experiences. Now, certain types of out-of-body experiences are known as astral projections. And in case you don't know what the heck that is, according to Webster's dictionary, an astral projection is an intentional out-of-body experience that assumes the existence of a soul or consciousness called an astral body that's separate from the physical body, and it's capable of traveling outside it through the universe. All right, William is also an astral projection teacher, energy healer, Akashic Record reader, QiGong Level 4 practitioner, master Reiki teacher, and he studied 2 ways of activating the MerKaBa. Oh, and let me just throw this in here too. He's also the author of the new adorable children's book series, Chakra Friends. Cannot wait to speak with him. So let's get William on the episode. Enjoy. Welcome to the Spiritual Hangout, William. Thank you for taking the time to connect with us.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Your story, it's straight out of a movie, so I wanted to start from the beginning. If you would please describe what happened the day of your accident and what you remember most about it.
Okay. What I can tell you in the beginning is what I had been told, because in the beginning, leading up to the moment, I don't remember much. But me and two friends of mine were driving from one place to another at night in a town called Riverside in Illinois. And my friend had bald tires on his pickup truck. He had a Dodge Charger. And we've been telling him for a while to get those tires changed. Just didn't do it because we're teenagers, or 18. We were going through this small town at night. It's all windy roads, and he was trying to go left and then changed his mind to go right, or was going right and changed his mind to go left. I can't remember exactly. And the truck started to go like horizontal and then started to slide. And then it started to barrel roll like this.
So you were flipping across, was it like a highway, interstate?
Sideways. No, it's a small town.
Okay, sideways.
So like barrel roll. And then it ended up in somebody's front lawn, but on all four tires. But when it stopped rolling, I was no longer in the car, in the truck. And they looked out the window and I was laying in the middle of the road, motionless. And then eventually they went out to try to wake me, and I wasn't moving. And then they, I don't know, going through shock, doing whatever you do in a situation like that. And then people were coming out of their houses because it was nighttime. It's a small, quiet town. Like traffic doesn't really go through there.
Yeah.
And then they said the next thing I knew, I shot up like immediately and then just started walking. And then they tried to stop me and I just wouldn't let them stop me. And people from the neighborhood were coming out and they were like, hey, you have to stop. You're in an accident. And my response was, accident? I wasn't in any accident. And then I would just proceeded to walk into somebody's backyard. So eventually what happened was, ambulance, hospital. And then I checked myself out of the hospital later that night because after the CAT scans came back, it came back in a positive fashion. So the doctor signed me out. Slowly after that, for one thing, I had a memory loss for about 6 months. And
Did acute memory loss or?
I would call it that. But it all came back later. It just took time. It was strange. But to connect it with the subject that we're talking about, shortly after that, I started having what they would call spontaneous out-of-body experiences. And
Did it happen at night while you were sleeping?
It was a nighttime thing. So it was a nighttime thing. But it was very different than sleeping. And then there was other types of pseudo-psychic phenomena that would go on. Way overwhelmed with other people's emotions and stuff like that. Going out in public for a while was difficult. And I eventually I learned to kind of like deal with it. And then I started to meet people shortly after that were kind of like me or at least had some sort of similarity. And with that, I was able to make other connections. A couple years later, I learned, this is an interesting story because this happens a lot. I learned about astral projection that it was possible to do this on purpose at a party from somebody. And he asked me if I ever heard of it. I said no. I looked it up. I was like, wow, this is amazing. People are doing this on purpose. And then later when I asked him about it, after I discovered it, he said he never said that to me. I was like, okay. Now, I don't know if he did that because it's embarrassing to talk about, because people think you're crazy if you start talking about this type of thing, or if something else happened.
Maybe like someone sent you a message through him and he just didn't remember it, so that it can kind of spark that for you.
These things can happen, but it's like that's on the other end of the spectrum. It's very possible he just got made fun of for being interested in the subject, so he wanted to shut it down completely. But I'll never know what's true. So then after practicing for one night, all night, I eventually gave up and went to sleep. trying to do it on purpose.
How are you practicing?
Well, that depends on your ability to move energy. Like how most people would practice in the beginning would be different than me. But how I was practicing was I was running my energy body long outside of me from like, so if you move energy from your feet to the top of your head, you can stretch it out further. And then you come back the other direction and push it out the bottom of your feet. And you're kind of playing with this stretching of your energy body outside of your physical, even if it's just a
Feel
little bit.
sensations when you do that?
Yes. Yeah, it's an energy rush.
Okay.
And then once you reach the top, you don't limit yourself to the top, you keep going.
Okay.
But before you actually know how to physically disconnect or consciously disconnect, and you know the trigger to do that, you won't be able to go maybe too far, maybe like, up here and then down, but that's something. And then another thing is you go back and forth. If you're lying down, you're going up, stretching your energy body forward, then you go back down through your body and through your back. And you go up, and then you go through your back. I was just doing like these types of things and stretching my arms as far as I could to the walls, my legs as well. Then I did this for a while, and it's supposed to trigger something, and it didn't. But when the following morning, it did. It just happened, and it
So
was
it
like
happened after you've been practicing all night. It
right.
happened spontaneously.
The following, I wouldn't say spontaneously. I was training my subconscious to do it on its own.
Mm.
So because of what I was trying to do, what I was attempting to do, my higher self, subconscious, whatever, was recognizing what I was trying to do and was like, okay, I'm gonna let him do it. Because for whatever reason, it was okay for me to do it at that time, consciously,
Yeah.
probably because of all the other experiences I've had. I rolled out of my body and I wandered into the living room, and there is the first time I saw what you would call just full on like disembodied people standing. 3 of them were standing at attention in my living room, and one of them had his back to me. And I'm hyperventilating in a way. I'm panicking because of what's happening.
Because
I
you're
don't know.
dismembered beings.
Right. And I'm also dismembered at the time. So it's all these things happening simultaneously is very new. I don't normally run into people at that point.
Yeah.
And so I asked what is I consider a naive question now. It was, are you my guides? And then the guy that had his back to me turned around and said yes. And as soon as he did, I was back in my body, hyperventilating. My heart was just like racing. Then I walked into the living room, nothing there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds so intense.
It was.
And I can't believe that you continue to practice this after that experience.
Yeah. After that happened, I started to do it almost every day.
Wow.
And that went on for years. And then I would talk about it with friends that were close to me, and then close to me. And as cool as you would think that they would think it was, it's not. They have the opposite reaction. It's like everybody wants to believe something to be true or possible until it is, and then they freak out. And
Did you lose friends?
many,
Yeah.
yeah. Only a few stayed around, and even if a lot of them that stayed around, they still weren't like, they were pseudo friends.
Yeah. I can totally see that because most people who start really digging deep into their spirituality, they change. Their rituals change and their perceptions change. And so normal to lose friends, but just the way it happened to you on top of what you're experiencing when you're doing your astral projections and then sharing it with people, you're being authentic, like double trauma in a way. Because it seems like having those experiences would be
Still weren't like, they were pseudo friends.
yeah, I can't even I can totally see that because most people who start really digging deep into their spirituality, they change and their rituals change and their perceptions change. And so it's normal to lose friends, but just the way it happened to you on top of what you're experiencing when you're doing your astral projections and then sharing it with people, you're being authentic, kind of like double trauma in a way, because
Mm-hmm.
it seems like having those experiences would be a little traumatic. On top of that, real life, losing people too, but you chose to continue exploring.
Yeah. Everything got taken down like to its basest point, mostly from an emotional standpoint.
Can you describe to us what the astral realm looks like? What sensations do you experience and what visuals do you experience?
Yeah, it's tough.
Really quick, the ones you were having in your living room, those were out of body experiences. Those were not astral projections, were correct?
Right.
Okay, so can you explain the difference first and then what we could expect in terms of our 3D physical form?
Okay, the closest thing to the physical reality is something that Robert Bruce coined as the real-time zone. What the real-time zone is, by the name, is it's the closest to what time is passing as close to the physical as possible. So you're very, very close. This time is very, very different in the astral and different realms.
Next question, how does time play out there? Go to past places? Is it even relative?
Yeah, time exists forward, backward, and middle all at the same time, and as it does right now. But a lot of times the experiences you go through seem as if they have some sort of timeline. But the way that it works in terms of how long you're out for, let's say you're out for hours, but it's only minutes here. That's very real. So the person that made Inception, like they knew what they were talking about to a certain degree, and even the whole thing about making your own places in the astral realm and areas, that's a very real thing as well.
I've heard people talk about being able to meditate in small groups and create different mini worlds within their meditations via the astral realm. Is that correct?
They're meditating in groups and
Yeah, I've
creating
heard
an area, and
small
that
groups.
is it
Almost like a video game.
does it stay?
Yes, they'll come back and build onto it.
Okay, it does work that way. And so there's several places that I have and I frequent, but they're not real. It's subconscious play. It's like having cheat codes to a video game.
Okay.
But yeah, that's not something I get into too much. But in terms of visuals, the actual, it's a lot more radiant. It's a lot more colorful, tasteful, smelly, and and all the senses kind of blur together. And there's definitely not communication that is telepathic,
Right.
and but instantaneous.
Right. Like instant manifestations, instant whatever you think, it's like right there type of thing.
Yeah, but I'm also talking about in terms of communicating with other things.
Right.
So okay, in the real-time zone, it's kind of desolate. Like think of it as the upside down from Stranger Things, right? It's like a okay, if the astral is very vibrant and colorful, the real-time zone is not. It's very gray and quiet, but people are existing and you could see them. You could see other people that are dream and that.
All of that.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of extra physical beings, like other things other than ourselves, they're very low on the totem pole. So things like ghosts and stuff like that would exist there. And
what dimension would that be considered? Like the lower dimension?
Higher than the physical. That's all.
Okay.
That's as best as I can tell you. All these classifications just ruin everything. Like it's hard to, yeah. So it's semi-desolate, but people still exist, and other things that exist there are things that used to be there for a very long time because they leave an energetic pattern. Like a house, it could be a tree or whatever. So things can sometimes exist on top of each other, and it's weird like that.
And you just explore it? Are you walking in your physical body, or is this more like you're just observing it?
No, you're traveling around in what is the easiest for you to understand that is possible. So if it's walking for you, you'll walk. If you could fly, you'll fly.
Okay.
If you can go through a wall, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. And then it's very frustrating in that way. If you could fly around your neighborhoods and try to visit people.
Could you visit me? Could you visit whoever you wanted to visit?
It's possible if it's possible.
Okay.
Sometimes you try to visit someone and you get blocked. But
That's what I want you to. You're blocked.
I've had success with it, and I've had failure.
That's
So it's, mhm. And a lot of times who is stopping you from doing things is you. It's just like the smarter version of you watching what you're doing. You're like, nope.
right.
And
Like, what's your true intention behind going there, type of thing?
yeah. So it's all possible and not possible at the same time, just depends.
Okay, and I want to touch base on the entities that you come across. I'm sure there's a plethora of them. What's the most intelligent entity you've come across?
Ooh, that is a tough one. Intelligent in terms of me.
Technology, the way they communicate in comparison to humans, the way they live, if you could kind of get that information from them, where they come from.
Okay, so I've definitely dealt with what we would consider to be people not from here, but they're probably just very, 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 very far in our future. And kind of like they can kind of go through time and space a lot easier. And they could track us and people like me and what we're doing, and they do. And I've been brought on to different vehicles, and I'm brought to different places without a vehicle.
Yeah.
And I think the most advanced things, though, that I've ever visited were archetypes. Like I've visited the archetype realm, or at least one part of it, that had multi-headed dragons and griffins and just stuff like that. And it was terrifying, but it was very cool.
Can you die during an astral projection? I mean, I know
Somebody asked me that recently. As far as I know, I don't know anybody who has, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Do you get lost in there and just not be able to return to your body?
If you were unable to return indefinitely, you're dead. You died in your sleep.
Yeah.
But in terms of like getting lost and that's how you die, that doesn't happen.
Who guides you through these journeys? Who's overseeing this? Is there anything that's overseeing this? Is this just like the wild, wild west?
The closest thing to the wild, wild west would be the real-time zone. But other than that, yeah, you're definitely being overlooked, and sometimes that comes in a form that could be like, oh, hey, I'm going to be your buddy for a day, or other times it's you're by yourself, and then you maybe do something out of line in some sort of astral way, and then all of a sudden the whole thing turns off. Which, like, there's many times where that happens. You could disconnect from your body and somebody could be right there waiting, or you could go off and you can meet somebody, or you can go outside and then there's like some negative entity type of things there, like waiting for you, and they kind of mess with you.
You can cuss.
Okay. And then, but all they want is like to drain you of like fear energy because it's, very potent, like love, similar.
And isn't that what's happening all around us? That we are constantly, I mean, it's just this like the duality of our worlds. Isn't that what happens all the time? Like we do it to each other, right? We take each other's energy. And then are there entities? Because I've heard from people as well who have had experiences, and it's always stuck with me, that there are entities that are from a higher realm, and then there's the lower realm entities that harvest our energy through fear. And sometimes we are kind of given as pawns. Okay, so this is a story I heard, that this person was having visuals, and they saw the light beings pawning off someone to the dark beings and saying, okay, fine, you could take some of their energy, that's fine. Like they were even communicating with each other, the light and the dark. And it wasn't anything major. It was like someone said yes to drugs or something. And so like, okay, fine, this person's going to do drugs. You take their dark energy, like that.
Can I have some more context to the situation?
Yeah, this person did a shitload of shrooms, and like that crazy dosage. I don't know how much it is.
I'm not going to say no, but it sounds like his subconscious is playing out a little bit there. There are things that are very powerful in a negative way and smart. A better way of putting it instead of powerful is intelligent. So there are many intelligent and negative things that can exist higher than what we would consider to be a lower frequency. So they found a way, and they exist we're in the higher frequency realms, and they're taking. I'm not saying anything new here when people themselves seem to be manufactured as emotion creating devices in order to harvest emotions in general, be it love, fear, whatever it is. Robert Monroe wrote about it first. Anybody that uses the term loosh stole it from Robert Monroe.
Can you repeat that term again, please?
Loosh. It was his Loosh.
Loosh.
It's the closest word that he could use for a non-physical thing.
Okay.
Which is just energy that's produced almost like factory made.
Like coded?
Coded? I guess. People designed in order to create emotion, because emotion gives off energy, and energy can be gathered. And that's like a big reason why people exist to begin with. But it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. We're getting into a very abstract conversation here.
Yeah.
Because some things can only exist based on the consumption of other things. So we grow a garden in order to eat the food and live. Consider it like that times like 100 or something.
And for people wondering, why the heck would I want to astral project? Why the heck do I want to leave my body and go to different places? I mean, for myself, it was because I mean, the way you do this is beyond. I mean, it's really mind blowing. And like I said, I'm just starting my journey. But for me, it was just to try and gain clarity and understand my true nature while I'm here and my past lives, to bring it back with a better state of awareness.
Everybody likes past lives.
I know, we do. And that leads me to the Akashic Records. You just briefly explain what that is and how you access it?
Okay, it could be accessed in a lot of different ways. I've learned the formal training as well as the informal training. But formal training would be you go through classes to begin with, and then you end up getting these words that you say. And then with these words that are said, because they've been said so many times over and over and over again for a very long time, they connect to a place where it was initially meant to be connected to, and this happens to be the Akashic Records. And then with that, people ask questions in a very particular way, and then you could answer them based on your connection and your ability to receive the information and put it into a physical form, be it in like a visualization, or you see it with your eyes, or you hear stuff. However it is that's easiest for the person is how it comes. Or it could be easiest for the person in that moment is how it comes. Now, this is not something that I actively practice. I learned all the ins and outs of it, and then I learned that it was true way before that it was a real thing. That's what gave me the interest to study it and get certified in it, because I knew it was real. And then coincidentally later, had to be 4 years ago now, I was first starting to do remote healing for people because I was asked to, and I didn't know if I could or not. But I learned while trying to do it that what would open up in order for me to do so was what people refer to as the Akashic Records. So there's a very specific type of opening that happens, and as readers will know, it's either slightly to the left or slightly to the right, a couple of feet above the head. And so coincidentally about that, something interesting was when I was taking the Akashic Record course, opening started to happen way before it was supposed to happen. And then I told the teacher, there's an opening happening like above my head slightly to the left. Is that normal? And she didn't say anything. And then the next class, she took me aside. She goes, yeah, that's like a completely different course for healing.
You're like, I didn't even have to take the course. Like, it just, Certain people are all of a sudden, they're just able to access the Akashic Records and have these abilities. Then there's us who, like myself and my friends, were like, ooh, we're going to do this Akashic Record meditation. Like, did they let you in? Did you, they make you visualize a big library and the watchers. And then you have to tell the watchers why you want to go. And if it's, your place, then they let you.
Sure. But visualization isn't real. So unless you're actually seeing it, like you're just making it up in your head.
Right. And that's funny too, because like with hypnosis, I've done hypnosis, I've accessed certain places. Most of it is just imaginative, but then you can get real answers from tapping inward.
Sure.
It just depends.
You can more or less putting energy into certain places, but not by imagining it going there, by actually forcing it to go there. And the things that you see and understand and think and hear actually happen, as opposed to, I think it happened, or I had this thought, or this is my truth. People actually aren't sure, but they act like they are. It takes all that out. So,
I always feel like I get the messages that I've received, at least in the beginning, was always during like a beautiful meditation. I'm not trying to visualize anything. It wasn't like a yoga nidra. It was just me, just in complete stillness and silence. And for me, it's like a voice in my head. And it's most of the time, it's like my own voice.
Is it a literal voice or is it a thought?
Well, good question. Was it actually real? Actually, it's like a thought. It's a voice that comes to me, but then my intuition's connected to it. So It's real for me. Science through nature, I get now too. Nice. But I think a lot of us, you mentioned a lot of us, we think it might be real. And so we just go with it. But I think a lot of us also think it's probably not real, but it could be as well. So, okay, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to William about a little bit more about energy and his book, because he is an author, as I mentioned, of Chakra Friends. I want to talk about the books because I already have a list of people I'm going to be gifting them to. So we will be back soon. Hey, Spiritual Hangout listeners. I hope you're enjoying the conversation with William. I have to tell you, it's going to get really deep right now. Listening to our conversation again, it gives me the chills because he's going to open up big time about his life mission. I mean, he is here on a mission, and it's mind-blowing. I might have already used that word, but it really is. I'm really grateful that he opened up and put himself out there completely. Secondly, he spills the beans on some topics he does not usually bring up and in detail. These are topics that I've never heard anyone else talk about, so be prepared. Also, we are going to talk about his energy healing sessions and the miraculous things that have come from it. He has so many years of experience and he has cured people. If you want to book a session with him, learn more about energy, learn more about his journey, go to his website at energywork.com. I connected with William via Instagram. He has tutorials that he's created, very high quality, available, some teaching you how to begin to move your own energy. If you are interested in this, check him out on Instagram at energy_work. His Facebook is Energy Work. We're also going to talk about Chakra Friends. I love this book series. It's adorable. What better way to introduce chakras than with a book? And this is not forcing anything on them. It's just basically like if it sticks, it sticks. If not, they're going to love the colorful images and the message behind it. All parents are going to love. We have a promo code 30% off. Thank you so much for offering that code to us too, William. The code is Chakra Hangout, all in caps. So go to chakrafriends.com to purchase your book, or it's also available on Amazon. Without further ado, let's get back to William. I explained a little bit why I wanted to do the Astra Projection. I wanted to gain clarity of who I am and live a better, more authentic life in the 3D world. You said it's to use a higher percentage of your brain. Mm-hmm. You also said something along the lines, I'm just paraphrasing, that you are looking for a group of people to Astra project with because you believe that there is some sort of power there. That was so intriguing. I'm like, okay, this is probably something so deep. What's that about?
Are we on the record right now?
Yes.
Okay.
We're recording.
Okay. So in the non-physical place, areas, non-physical existence, is where things like mantras and different types of practices in order to accelerate evolution and create an effect actually work instantaneously.
Okay.
They're meant for energetic form. You could do, let's say, a mantra 1,000 times, 10,000 times in physical form, but depending on your karma and your ability to penetrate through, this is called the place where it happens automatically. The distance can be this far. So for some people it's this far, for some people it's this far. But when you're on that side, you're already in it. So you do it there and it creates the effect. And you could bring that back with you to the physical body. I know this is true because I've done it myself. So with that, you don't have to necessarily practice as a group there things like this, but if you get a group who can accelerate their evolution faster by going there and practice certain things, which groups already do, then those people in the physical realm will be very gifted. And with that, when somebody dies, you could find them. But the problem with that is that you need a group because multiple people can die at once. Sometimes it takes people longer to reincarnate than others. And then you find them and then you kind of wake them up based on their own preference before they die. They could choose their own age or whatever it is. And then you teach them.
So you go back in time before they die and they get this knowledge?
No, before they die, they tell you how long they want you to wait to reawaken them, and or if they want it at all.
So this would be the people that you're going into the other.
If they're able to go there and practice in the astral realm, they can accelerate this body faster, their abilities faster. It's not a necessity, but because a lot of people don't need that, but you have a better chance.
Are more people doing this than people say they're doing?
Lots of groups are doing this, and they give it names sometimes, and they have like their secret groups, and sometimes they talk about it openly. The Dalai Lama lineage is very similar to this, but I know a lot of other yogic groups that are doing the same thing. A lot of people do it hush hush.
Right.
So, but whenever you do it publicly, let's say the opposite of a group like that will find a way to sabotage you. If it doesn't happen right away, it'll happen eventually. So you have to be careful, which obviously as we're talking now, I am not being careful. But if I did find the proper situation, I would just probably disappear and just focus on that.
Okay. I get what you're saying. I completely get what you're saying with that.
Because people say like they want to become 5D or whatever new age nonsense gets thrown around. What they're talking about, if they mean it, is accelerating themselves to the point where all they care about is information, and then evolving past the point of interacting with everyday life, and then kind of just worrying about not breaking the chain from life to life on what you know. Now, a part of that that's tricky is because you have to go through all of your current emotional issues, which is what you need to do in order to be able to see past lives properly. You might get glimpses of stuff here and there on accident or through luck or maybe through strife. To go through a lot of your emotions here and digest them in very, very strong ways, and sadness and anger and fear, then you're able to see before that and before that and before that.
So it's like in stages then.
If you can't process, they call them samskaras. If you can't process your current ones, how could you possibly process ones from the past? You'd freak out and have a nervous breakdown. But if you are able to do that, and then in this lifetime not break the chain of losing knowledge, then you're not dying at all. So
you're continuing to have the same memories and same recollections. And
yeah, you're on a stream. Like it's no longer broken off. There's no longer amnesia. So that should be like the main goal in my mind. But other people will disagree.
Do you think that you've already done this in a past life?
What I'm doing now? Yeah, but I normally don't live this long for one. something that always comes along is the helping of people as they're dying, which I'm sure is going to be part of this life. So I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but it's inevitable.
You help people help in the transition to the other side type of thing?
Basically. I imagine it would be something like, as they're dying, I would greet them on the other side and be like, hey, it's not a big deal. Now get out of here. Yeah, and I would be with them in physical, and then I would greet them on the other side.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is something that I fought for a while, but I know I've done it before. Before, when I was first starting out, what I wanted to be was a channel. So I already had ability, but Astral Projection wasn't the most exciting thing for me. After you've done it like many, many times, and I couldn't find a way to be productive with it, that's the whole practicing things while you're in non-physical form.
Can you just get caught up having fun in the astral world and not
very much?
Okay.
Like sometimes you're just so happy to be out. You're like, what do I do? And outside and start like flying around or something. Especially if you have a lot of experience, you get out, you go, okay, relax, do something constructive, think something that I know is going to increase my evolution quicker. And it's usually mantras and even Om. Like when I was in Cuba, I decided for some reason I was going to practice Om while I was still in the room next to my body. And not OM, but the AUM, which is the actual, that's the actual way to pronounce it. Believe it or not, this is like a secret in Kriya Yoga that they teach you later. I'm like, that's the most ridiculous secret I've ever heard.
You're like, duh.
Sorry for all the Kriya Yoga people. Please don't put any curses on me.
Hey, isn't the 9-day cleansing yoga challenge part of the Kriya Yoga?
Yes. Well, it's from a Kriya Yoga teacher from Yogananda. Yeah. He developed it himself.
Side note, guys, I was invited by William to join a 9-day Yogananda revitalization cleanse, which consists of 3 juices, salads, and a boiled vegetable, 5 oranges, 2 lemons, a grapefruit and a half.
True.
It sounds like a lot, but it's actually a lot of peeling of oranges.
Yeah.
And
I still have 4 left today.
Oh my gosh. Are you? Oh, but you're 3 hours ahead. So right now for me it's 7:19 p.m. and you're at 4, 5, 6, 7, 4. Yeah, I'm so good at math. Yeah. Okay, you're good. And William's slaying it. He's like, I got this. I've done this 10 times literally.
Day 7, yeah.
Wow. I'm like, what are you going to celebrate with after day 9?
Probably pizza.
Yes, I know you love pizza.
Yeah.
I'm a fellow pizza lover. This is my gang sign.
Nice.
It's pizza.
I assumed you were going for pizza.
That doesn't look like pizza.
No,
huh?
Not really. No,
am I doing like the Illuminati one by accident?
I think you want like a triangle.
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The side pizza. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a P.
It's a P.
But yeah, maybe pizza. Sushi's always good, but I had sushi before we started.
I know.
So, and then sky's the limit.
I know you can have anything you want. It's like being in the astral realm, but you're here.
Yeah.
Anything you want. So you're in Hawaii now, Oahu.
Right.
And you're doing your work out there. You do a lot of energy healing.
It's starting. I'll be doing all my healing here for a while, and I'll be back in LA in December, and then Chicago, and then back to LA in January. And
oh
then
my
back
gosh,
here.
I can't wait till you come out here.
Nice.
I want to book like in advance.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so nice with you. Well, let me just try the first one. But yeah, absolutely. I will you.
There's a lot of different things that I can do as well. Besides normal healing, just as taking out things, putting stuff in type of thing.
Right.
I do some scar work for people as well, which is going into them, finding points where emotional things have latched on to physical things.
Oh, yes.
And like how to release them through occasionally extreme emotional reactions. But it meaning like crying or like
screaming
could be, and just having to go through the memories of the emotions attached to it, even if they don't know that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that I also do.
That's something that I started doing intuitively with a few friends, and it started just like, oh, my back hurts. Let me massage that. Oh, it'd be talks after like a private yoga session, and then, yeah, my hip's just been bad. It's like you talk to someone, and then all of a sudden they're healing themselves because they're remembering when the pain started and why they still have it, and they're still holding on. And physical manipulation of that area and bringing in like fresh energy helps to begin the journey of releasing all of that. So that's great. I would love someone to do that to me. So I can't wait till you come out here in December.
Yeah, the plan is to teach a workshop in January. Same type of thing that I'm teaching, but people will have to I won't have a place for them to stay. So it'll be mostly LA people or people that get their own hotels. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for all of that. And information will be updated on his website. He keeps it really current. So that's energywork.com. I mentioned it during the commercial break, but I just wanted to plug it in there as well. So speaking about your healing, I was curious, what's one of the biggest transformations you've ever seen in someone through your healing?
Cancer cells normalizing, years long back problems going away. Periods, like women that had lost their menstrual cycle returning.
Wow.
I don't know, a lot of things, but those are some big ones.
Very cool. So, Chakra Friends, your book series. Did you brought your books out?
I did.
I want to see.
Okay. Chakra Friends was, this is...
Oh my gosh, they are so adorable. Open it up for me.
Any
They're
page?
really, really colorful.
Any page in particular?
Pick your favorite page. You know you have one.
It has always like a problem, and then the chakra friend comes into the town or community to help them or the person. Then there's like a resolution that happens.
Oh my goodness.
And each one coincides with the chakra. So if it's a root chakra, it had to do with stability and security and things like that, but in a very between 2 and 8, 2 and 10 type of way. And it starts out with just like information about the root chakra.
Oh, I love that. So the first page is just literally what's the root chakra in big, bold writing, and then the rest plays out into the story.
Right. Then the end always has affirmations for the child to say to themselves.
So for the root chakra, it says, I am brave, I am safe, I am whole. Kids, this is what kids, what they need.
There's 7, so 1 for each continent.
So each continent and each chakra.
Yeah. So this is the Sacral Chakra. It's in Brazil.
Oh my gosh. That's right. The globe has chakras.
They don't necessarily take place at the chakras. They take place at high energy places, though.
Is there Bali?
No.
Next series.
This is maybe. This is a solar plexus chakra. It's in Uluru in Australia.
Cool.
Also called Ears Rock. Heart chakra is in Antarctica.
Huh. That one was surprising.
Somebody had to be. The throat chakra is in South Korea in Asia. Has to do with K-pop in a way.
Oh my gosh, I love that theme.
And then third eye chakra is in Glastonbury, England at Tor, if you know what Tor is. It looks like that in the background. And then the crown chakra is in Mount Shasta in California.
Yeah. It would be in Cali. I love Mount Shasta.
It actually has a story in it that comes straight out of an astral projection experience that I had. Like it's part of the story.
No way.
Yeah. So
very, very cool. So the books come in a series, and you can also purchase them individually. I know on Amazon and on chakrafriends.com. And I mentioned the code, and I'm going to use it. I'll use it today. 20% off.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I heard Chakra Friends might have a cartoon in the near future or somewhat near future.
We're shopping it around right now to investors, and it takes a lot. There's a lot of time, a lot of people that go into it. And hopefully by the holiday season, we have those investors. We'll see. And we'll see.
Very cool book. It's great for kids 2 to 10 years old. What better book to gift a child than a book about chakras with meaning and true life stories that can carry on with them? And also just introduce the whole concept of chakras to them at an early age.
A good job of having children understand what they are and what emotions and mentality are attached to the chakras when they're unbalanced and then when they're balanced, without being like preachy.
Yeah, like if it sticks with them, then they'll carry that with them and have that understanding. Nice. I have a few questions.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. Welcome to our bonus thunder round with William. Okay, William.
I'm scared.
Now, I know pizza is one of your guilty pleasures. What's another guilty pleasure clients wouldn't expect from you?
Wouldn't expect. Depends on how well they know me. I enjoy red wine.
Ooh.
That's pretty much the only type of alcohol I will drink.
Red wine.
Yes.
That sounds so good right now. We'll talk about that because you're on the cleanse.
Yes.
Like, it's got to be some sort of guilty pleasure besides the pizza and wine.
Something that isn't surprising is that I meditate around an hour and a half a day. Was a better day, it would be more like 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes not at all, but most of the time consistent, about an hour, hour and a half.
When you meditate that long, because I've just started doing that more consistently too, and it's really helped my life. I'm just curious as to how you do it for that long.
You could do it laying down, but it depends on the meditation. My meditations are always active meditations. I'm not just doing nothing. I'm doing a lot of internal work and moving around and like alchemizing and stuff like that. Like at Master Joe, the technique he gave me takes about an hour to do. And it's not that you time yourself, but the process that you're going through in terms of moving energy around and putting it in places takes about an hour. And then the other one that I do consistently involves me moving things energetically, but not in the physical world, in the energetic way, from one side of the room to the other. That is a timed exercise for 30 minutes. It just helps stretch your ability to reach out energetically.
You're just a plethora of knowledge, and you're just unlike most human beings. So thank you again for being here and for being so open and honest with us. I really appreciate you, and I can't wait for your workshops and your healing sessions. They can be done online. Is that something that you're doing more of since COVID?
I do a lot of remote sessions, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So you can book your sessions on energywork.com, purchase the books at chakrafriends.com. And I can't wait to get details on that retreat in Los Angeles, hopefully in January. With the state of the world, we never know what can happen, but that's the plan, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And everyone who tuned in, I just want to extend a big hug to you wherever you are. Love and gratitude.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.